Before the electric guitar could scream, it had one very basic problem. Nobody could hear it. In the early days of jazz and big band music, the guitar was often stuck in the background. It could keep rhythm, it could add texture, but next to drums, horns, and a room full of dancers, it was fighting a losing battle. Guitar makers tried to solve this problem the obvious way. Make the guitar bigger, make the body louder, make the wood resonate more, and that helped, but only up until a point. Because the real breakthrough came when someone stopped asking, how do we make the guitar louder, and started asking something stranger. What if we could capture the string itself? That question led to one of the most important inventions in modern music. Not the amplifier, not the solid body guitar, not the distortion pedal, the pickup. A magnet, a coil of wire and a vibrating string. That's it. That tiny device helped turn the guitar from a quiet rhythm instrument into the voice of blues, rock, country, punk, metal, shoegaze, and basically every genre where someone has ever made an ugly face while bending a note. And in 2019, when I visited the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, they had a special display on the origins of the electric guitar. That exhibit stuck with me because it made something really obvious. The electric guitar wasn't born cool. It was born from a problem. It was too quiet. This is the story of the invention that fixed that problem and accidentally changed music forever. Before the electric guitar became a symbol of rebellion, power, and volume, it was more like the polite guy at a loud party. Useful, present, technically involved, but not exactly taking over the room. And in early ensemble music, especially jazz and big band settings, the guitar had to compete with instruments that were simply louder by nature. Trumpets cut, drums carried, pianos filled space, saxophone could sing over a room. The guitar, even in the hands of a great player, often became part of the rhythm section. That's not a bad thing. Rhythm guitar is its own art. But the guitar had more to say. The problem was that the instrument's body could only project so much sound. Builders could make bigger archtops, use different woods, experiment with bracing, and chase more acoustic volume. But at some point, physics taps you on the shoulder and says, that's about all you're getting out of this wooden box. And this is where the story gets interesting, because the answer was not just to make the guitar louder acoustically, the answer was to stop relying on acoustic volume altogether. Instead of making the body louder, inventors started trying to turn the vibration of strings into an electrical signal. That is a completely different way of thinking about an instrument. It's no longer just woodworking, it's engineering, it's magnetism, it's electricity, it's music becoming a signal. The guitar pickup is basically a translator. The string vibrates, the pickup senses that vibration, then it turns that movement into electricity. That electrical signal travels through a cable, into an amplifier, and eventually comes out of a speaker as sound. But here's the part that makes it fascinating. A typical magnetic pickup is not listening to the guitar the way your ear listens to an acoustic instrument. It is not hearing air move, it is sensing metal move. Inside a magnetic pickup, there is a magnet and a coil of very thin copper wire. The magnet creates a magnetic field around the strings. When you pluck a steel or nickel string, that string moves through the magnetic field. As the string vibrates, it disturbs that magnetic field, and that movement creates a tiny voltage in the coil. That voltage becomes the guitar signal. So the sound of an electric guitar starts as something almost invisible, a string moving inside a magnetic field. That's the spark. That's the whole trick. And once you understand that, the electric guitar starts to feel less like a normal instrument and more like a machine for turning human emotion into electricity. The player bends a string, the pickup turns that bend into a signal, the amp makes the signal louder, the speaker throws it into the room, and suddenly one person with 6 strings can overpower an entire band. One of the earliest major electric guitar breakthroughs was the Rickenbacker frying pan lap steel guitar from the early 1930s. And I love this thing because it does not look like a rock and roll weapon. It looks like someone combined a kitchen utensil, a banjo, and a science project. But that weird little instrument was a major step towards the electric guitar as we know it. The nickname frying pan came from its shape, a round body with a long neck. But the shape is not the important part. The pickup is. Instead of relying on a hollow wooden body to make the sound louder, the frying pan used an electromagnetic pickup to capture the vibration of the strings and send that signal to an amplifier. That one idea changed everything. Because once the pickup becomes the source of the sound, the guitar body no longer has to do the same job it did before. The body can be smaller, it can be solid, it can be shaped differently, it can sustain differently. The instrument can get louder without feeding back as easily, and eventually guitar stops being just an acoustic instrument with help. It becomes something new. That was one of the things that hit me at the MIM exhibit. You could see the electric guitar being invented in stages, not as one perfect lightning bolt moment, but as a series of practical problems. How do we make it louder? How do we control the noise? How do we make it sustain? How do we make it playable? How do we make it sound good? The electric guitar was not born from one genius saying, "Let there be rock." It was born from a bunch of people trying to solve annoying problems, which is honestly how a lot of the best inventions happen. The pickup did more than make the guitar louder. It changed what the guitar was allowed to be. Before amplification, the guitar often lived in the background. After the pickup, it could move forward. It could take solos, it could hold long notes, it could be expressive in a completely different way. Once players discovered that amplifiers could be pushed, overdriven, and abused a little, the electric guitar became even more powerful. Because now the pickup was not just capturing a clean string vibration, it was feeding a signal into equipment that could color it, compress it, distort it, and make it feel bigger than life. This is where the guitar starts becoming dangerous. Not physically dangerous, although depending on the stage wiring in the 1950s, maybe a little, but culturally dangerous. The amplified guitar could sound rude, it could sound emotional, it could sound broken in exactly the right way, and that matters, because a trumpet is loud by design, a drum is loud by design, but an electric guitar feels like it found a loophole. It took a quiet instrument and gave it a way to cheat. That cheat became blues, that cheat became rock and roll, that cheat became metal, that cheat became punk, and the pickup was the first step. The simplest classic pickup design is the single coil. One coil of wire, one magnetic voice. Single coils are famous for being bright, clear, sharp, and articulate. They can sound glassy, they can sound twangy, they can sound open and alive. A Stratocaster neck pickup has that smooth, hollow, almost vocal quality. A Telecaster bridge pickup can cut like a knife in a room full of instruments. But single coils also have a flaw. They hum. Because they are coils of wire sitting in an electromagnetic world, they can pick up noise from lights, power sources, transformers, and other electronics. That hum is technically a problem, but like a lot of problems in music, people eventually turned it into character. Single coils feel a little exposed. They are not always polite. They do not hide your mistakes very well. They make the guitar feel honest, sometimes painfully honest. There is something great about that. A single coil pickup sounds like it's telling the truth even when you wish it would lie a little bit. Then came the humbucker, and the name is beautifully literal. It bucks the hum. A humbucker uses two coils arranged so that the unwanted electrical noise cancels out, while the guitar signal remains. The practical goal was simple: make the pickup quieter, but the side effect was huge. Humbuckers usually sound thicker, warmer, and more powerful than traditional single coils. They can push an amp harder, they can smooth out the top end, they can make a guitar feel heavier before you even touch a distortion pedal. That is why humbuckers became such a big part of jazz, blues, hard rock, and metal. A single coil can feel like a spotlight. A humbucker can feel like a brick wall with feelings. And this is where pickup choice becomes less like a spec sheet and more like a personality test. Do you want sparkle, bite, and detail? Or do you want warmth, power, and sustain? Do you want the guitar to speak clearly? Or do you want it to sound like it just kicked a door open? Of course, the real answer is the guitar players wanted all of it, which is why we keep buying more guitars and pretending each one solves a different problem. Here's where the pickup becomes a rabbit hole. Because once you realize the pickup shapes the first electrical version of your sound, every tiny design choice starts to matter. The magnet type matters, the number of wire winds matters, the thickness of the wire matters, the pickup height matters, the pickup position matters. A bridge pickup hears the string close to the bridge, where the vibration is tighter and brighter. That gives you attack, bite, and definition. A neck pickup hears the string where it vibrates more widely. That gives you warmth, roundness, and a smoother sound. Even moving a pickup slightly closer to or farther from the string can change the feel. Too far away and the pickup can sound weak. Too close and the magnets can pull on the strings and affect sustain or tuning. So when guitar players obsess over pickup height, magnet type, output, coil splitting, wax potting, P90s, active pickups, vintage wines, and whether something sounds more open or more compressed, they are being ridiculous, but they are not completely wrong, because the pickup is the first electronic fingerprint of the guitar. Before the amp, before the pedals, before the speaker, before the recording software, the pickup decides what version of the string vibration gets sent down the line. That makes it one of the most important parts of the entire instrument. The electric guitar pickup is easy to overlook. It is small, it is usually not flashy, and to most people it looks like a plastic or metal rectangle sitting under the strings. But that little device helped rewrite music history. It solved a practical problem. The guitar was too quiet, but the solution did more than add volume. It changed the role of the guitar. It changed how instruments were designed. It changed how players performed. It changed what a band could sound like, and eventually it helped create the sound of modern popular music. That is what I love about inventions like this. They start as solutions to boring problems, then they accidentally become culture. The pickup did not just make the guitar louder, it gave the guitar permission to become something else. A lead voice, a weapon, a texture machine, a noise generator. A way for one person to turn a vibrating string into something that could fill a room, shake a stage, or define an entire generation of music. So the next time you look at an electric guitar, don't just look at the body shape, the finish, the logo, or the amp behind it. Look under the strings, because that little coil of wire and magnet is where the whole thing starts. Before rock could soar, the guitar needed a spark. If you like this kind of rabbit hole, subscribe for more stories about the hidden history and engineering behind the things people love. And let me know in the comments, are you a single coil person, a humbucking person, or are you like most guitar players pretending the next pickup swap will finally fix your tone?